Welcome back to the Houston Texans franchise on Madden 23, guys. And man, has it been a long season one. 4-13 was our final record. This team showed heart at the end of the season. 2 back-to-back wins over the Jags and the Colts. In today's video, man, we'll take a look back at the season, look at the stats, look at the schedule, and then we're going to get ready for the offseason. We're going to start looking at who we've got on our recruiting board, our scouting board, and who could be some targets in free agency coming up, man. We're going to have a little money, so we should be able to grab a really good player to help this team out. So let's start things off in the quarterback room. It was a historic year for Davis Mills, and not in a good way. He finished with just under 3,700 yards passing, 23 touchdowns, 47 interceptions. Now, look, I'm going to be completely honest with you. Madden changed their whole passing technology mechanics, and it took me a while to get adjusted to it. Now, some of these throws, some of the picks were very, what's the word I'm looking for? BS'd, but some of them were forced too. So I'll take responsibility for all of them. But at the same time, I feel like, certain throws he made shouldn't have been picked off. Certain throws he got picked off should have been caught by the receivers. So it was a frustrating year playing quarterback. But, I think Davis has some tools that could help him become a really good quarterback down the road. And as you can see, too, he was sacked 58 times this year. The offensive line was simply atrocious. It was awful. There were times where I would drop back, and as soon as I took my third step or even my fifth step, there was pressure right here in his face every time. So that was very frustrating. I think with the right offensive line, he could have a really solid career. With that being said, is he going to be the starting QB in season 2? I don't know. We got to see how these chips fall. But I think he has some tools there that could definitely help him out. I think a pleasant surprise this year was the emergence of Damien Pierce, the rookie running back from Florida. 221 carries, 973 yards with 9 touchdowns. He averaged about 70 yards per game. He had a streak there during the last part of the season where he had 3 100-yard games. My only concern moving forward, 4 fumbles on the year. We're definitely going to be working on the carrying going into next season, but he definitely is going to be running back number 1 next year. Marlon Mack chipped in with 139 carries for 545 yards and 3 scores. He was a great change of pace back. He's just a little bit faster than Pierce, but came in and still did a really good job. I'm still up in the air about bringing him back next year. We would have to see what he's looking at money-wise. I would prefer more of a scat back, somebody who's a little bit quicker, and maybe even a new third down back, because I just don't see Rex Burkhead being back next year. 22 carries for 117. Rex did a good job, man. When we needed that first down or we had like a short yardage situation, he did a good job coming in and picking those up for us. But again, I want to get some more speed on this team. I feel like all of our running backs are like 88, 86 to 88, 86 to 90 in speed. So to get somebody who's a little bit faster, somebody who's in the 90s, would definitely help this team out a lot. Out wide, Brandon Cooks led the way with 75 grabs for just under 1,100 yards and 7 touchdowns. Now, again, because of the troubles we were having with the offensive line and at quarterback, it was kind of hard getting B. Cooks the ball. But when we got him the ball, he was magic, man, especially the last couple games. He had I think it was a 2-touchdown game versus the Jaguars. He's a dynamic player once he can get his hands on the ball. But again, it just all comes down to the offensive line. If we're able to protect our quarterback, we should be able to get the ball out to these playmakers. And B. Cooks continues to have a really good career. I think that's his third 1,000-yard season back-to-back. He only had one season where he didn't go, or 2 seasons where he didn't go over 1,000 yards receiving. So he got more yards this year and more touchdowns. The catches did go down, but still, just another great year for B. Cooks. Second on the team was Brevin Jordan, the big tight end. 49 grabs, 777 yards, 3 touchdowns. I think he's going to be a really good tight end for us, man. I think moving forward, he will be tight end number one. He had a hand problem earlier in the year, broke his thumb a couple times, I believe. So it was good to see him back the last couple games of the season, and he was definitely an immediate impact. Nico Collins, 34 grabs, 525, and 5 scores. Kind of a disappointing year in my book for Nico. I was expecting a bigger role for him, but again, I think that kind of ties into the offensive line troubles that we had trying to pass the ball. Same for Chris Conley, 32 grabs, 482, and 5 scores. Farrell Brown did a great job stepping in when Brevin was hurt, 31 grabs, 434, and 3 scores. Like I mentioned before, Burkhead did a great job catching the ball, 41 grabs for 274 yards. And then you had Marlon Mack down here with 19 grabs for 126 yards. Moving forward, I would love to get another wide receiver here, either through the draft or free agency. I would love to bring in another body. Again, I don't think Nico is the answer. We got to have somebody who can be on the opposite side of Brandon Cooks. I like having Brandon Cooks in the slot. So if we were able to have a dangerous weapon on the outside and let Cooks work on the inside, this team will be dangerous going into season 2. So as I mentioned before, this offensive line just sucked completely. It was awful. Titus Howard, I honestly think that this was his last year as a Houston Texan. He gave up 10 sacks this year, and it felt like it was more. Laramie Tunsil was disappointing as well. He gave up 7 sacks. The interior line gave up 5. That's Khan and Green. But Kenyon Green is a rookie. He's growing into his role. I think he's going to be really good down the line. He's got star development. The traits are there. We just got to get that morale back up. But, I mean, this was the worst part of playing this season. Justin Britt had 4 sacks, and then Heck and cleanup when Tunsil went down had 3 sacks as well. This was the worst part about playing this game this year or this season. The offensive line was just absolutely horrible. Like I mentioned before, we would drop back and look to throw the ball, and we would have just pressure right in Davis Mills' face. And he's not that great of a quarterback to begin with, so anytime there's pressure in his face, he's going to throw an inaccurate pass every single time, and that's what led to a lot of those interceptions. You know, moving forward, definitely right tackle and right guard are 2 positions that I'm looking to upgrade. I've got a couple players in mind in free agency. There's a couple guys in the draft, too, that I'm looking at, and center as well. There's a center in the draft that I think we will definitely be taking in the 2nd or 3rd round. But it was frustrating. It was just a frustrating year for this offensive line. Definitely going to be rebuilding it, retooling it, and bringing in some players that are capable of blocking and doing a good job at it. To the defense side of the ball we go. I caught a lot of flack for benching Christian Kirksey for Christian Harris, but I think it turned out to be one of the smartest decisions of the season. The rookie came in and got 155 tackles on the year, 20 TFLs. This kid was all over the field this year. He started off as like a 60-something, 69 maybe, and now we've got him up to star development, and he's a 77 overall. Again, he played everywhere. He was a 3-down linebacker. He was able to get interceptions. He was getting sacks. I think going into season 2, you're looking at the captain of the defense. He is what I was hoping he would have been. Second on the team was Jonathan Owens at strong safety. He had 101 tackles, which I was shocked by, man. This guy was not even like on the depth chart to start or get any playing time, but he won out that strong safety position, and he put up some really good numbers. Jalen Petrie, the rookie free safety, this kid is going to be a star. 89 tackles on the year, 3 TFLs, 7 interceptions, including the 3 interception game at the end of the year against the Colts. Again, he's another one of those players where, the more time he got on the field, the more time he played, the better he was. He's got the star development as well. And I think going into next season, expect him to have a bigger role in this defense. Steven Nelson finished the season with 88 tackles. Terrence Brooks had 83. Desmond King had 57. The other rookie, Derek Stingley Jr., he had 56 tackles, 3 TFLs, and 4 interceptions on the year. He missed a little bit of time with an injury, but came back and did a really good job. I felt like teams were kind of shying away from him. He's got star development, but I think, as we continue through this franchise, he's going to get up to the superstar X factor. I believe so, man, because he is just too good. 93 speed, 83 man coverage, the acceleration, the agility, the press, the jump, and the catching, all looking good, man. I'm excited to see the future with this kid as cornerback number 1. KGH had 44. Eric Murray with 35. Jared Hughes had a big year, 34 tackles, 17 TFLs. Ross Blacklock had 29 tackles. Rasheem Green had a good year too, 27 tackles. Jonathan Grenard had 26. And then you had Taveri Thomas with 21. Kirksey with 17. Reeves Maben with 15. Malik Collins had 15. And Lewis had 14. And Roy Lopez had 13. Looking at the sack totals from this year, Jerry Hughes, I was shocked, man. I'm not even going to lie to you. I was shocked. My guy had 11 sacks on the year. Was definitely a pass rush specialist for us. He just did a lot better than what Grenard did. I think Grenard came in with a little bit too much hype this year. Coming off 8 sacks last year. This year, only 3.5 sacks. But I was moving him around a little bit. He started off on the left side and ended up on the right side. And I think that right side is the money side for him. So going into next year, we'll make sure he plays more on the he started off on the left side. Yeah. No, he started off on the right side, and we moved him to the left end. Okay. We started him on the right side, and we moved him to the left end. And the left end spot is the better spot for him because he can get off. He'll be a better pass rusher on that side. Yeah, I got it figured out. Rasheem Green, we moved him inside the D tackle. He ended up with 3 sacks, brought a lot of pressure on QBs this year. Christian Harris had 2 sacks as well. KGH had 2 sacks, so did Ross Blacklock. Malik Collins had a sack and a half. Kirksey with a sack. Reeves Maben had a sack as well, man. So we got after the quarterback. I feel like our numbers could have been a little bit better. I think going into the offseason, maybe we do look for another pass rusher because Jerry Hughes is getting up there. He'll be in his 13th season, so he might be a trade candidate for us. But I need somebody who's going to be able to team up with Grenard and really get after the quarterback and maybe a defensive tackle as well. Interception department, I just feel like this game is full of interceptions, man. Like I feel like the computer threw a lot of interceptions. I threw a lot of interceptions. I tried to bring that slider down a little bit, but it seemed to not have helped at all. Jalen Petrie with 7 picks as a free safety. Desmond King had 5. Stingley with 4. Harris and Murray and Thomas each with 2. And then Steve Nelson had 1. Again, the rookies really stepped up. The 3-headed monster that we have now, I really like it. I really do. Take a look at the forced fumbles. Christian Harris had 5 forced fumbles. Then you got Desmond King with 3. Jerry Hughes had 1, and so did Ross Blacklock. We had a lot of recoveries, 2 from Rasheem Green, 2 from Jonathan Owens, 1 from Stingley, 1 from Grenard, 1 from Terrence Brooks, and 1 from Tremont Smith. And defensive touchdowns, 4 in all, 1 for Stingley, 1 for Terrence Brooks, 1 for Christian Harris, and 1 for Desmond King. To the kicking game, I think Kai Fairbairn did a great job, man. 18 of 21. He was 85%. He had a 58-yard field goal, and he only missed 1 extra point. He was a really good weapon for us, especially in that Colts game at the end of the season. I think he kicked like 3 or 4 field goals that day. But, again, we need somebody like that. Somebody, if we stall out, in a drive and we're in field goal range, he can knock it through. He's got the strong leg and the accuracy. Glad to have him. Punter Cameron Johnson kicked it 41 times for 1,786 yards. That's a 44-yard average. He had 3 touchbacks, and 7 of those kicks were inside the 20. I would like to see that a little bit more. I would like to see like the inside the 20 be somewhere between like 15 to 19, 15 to 20. But he did have a 62-yard punt. Strong leg. He handled kickoffs for us as well, and he was kicking out the end zone every time. That's what we need, man. He did a great job. In the return game, Tremont Smith, 70 returns for 1,543 yards. He had one. He almost had a touchdown against the Jaguars. Like, he was just that close to breaking it. I'm wondering if he's going to be back next year. He's got nice speed, but I want more speed on this team. And then in the punt return game, Smith had 71 yards and Desmond King had 66. So at the bottom of the screen, you can see where the team ranked among the rest of the league. We were 32nd in points per game, only averaging almost 20 points per game. We were 32nd in the passing game as well, just under 200 yards. 22nd in offensive rushing, which I thought we would be a little bit higher. We averaged about 99 yards per game. Defensively, we gave up the second most points in the league, almost 32 points. But we had the number one pass defense, though, only giving up 217 yards through the air. Defense against the run, we were 21st. We gave up 114 yards. So not bad defensively, right? I feel like we gave up a lot of points because of how bad our offense was. So turnovers led to shorter fields for the opposing offenses, and it was just easy touchdowns. On the flip side, we just couldn't move the ball through the air. That offensive line just hurt us really bad. That's why I'm making it a priority this offseason to get a new offensive line. So let's look back at the season that was, and it started off awful. In the preseason, we got blown out in every game, losing to the Saints 28-3, losing to the Rams 35-14, and losing to the Niners 28-17. So that kind of set the tone early for how bad this season was going to be for our Texans. As we get into the regular season, we took on the Colts week 1, and they beat us 31-10. I think that might have been my first or second game ever playing Madden 23. So it was a tough outing, but it got worse. We went to Denver and got absolutely torched, 45-7. This was probably one of the most frustrating games I had this year. We benched Davis Mills after throwing 4 interceptions. Then Gardner Minshew comes in and throws a touchdown and 3 interceptions. So 7 interceptions in all. Russ threw 4. But again, we just couldn't do anything. Marlon Mack only had 51 yards on the ground. It was just like, it felt like everything was a pick six that game. So we tried to put that game behind us and get ready for the Bears. And this game, bro, I felt like we should have won this game. They ended up pulling out the dub, 31-24. We went scoreless in the fourth. They scored 10 in the fourth. That's how they won it. This was one of Mills's games. Like, he had 3 touchdown passes, but the 4 interceptions hurt. David Montgomery went over 100 yards. Marlon Mack went for 75 yards. Fields had a rushing touchdown. Pharaoh Brown had a big day, 6 for 103 and a touchdown. And then Brandon Cooks had 6 catches for 45 and 2. That was one of the games I had circled that this is a winnable game for us. And when we lost that game, I was like, oh, we're in trouble. Because then we went and took on the Chargers, and they just whooped our tails from beginning to end. Right before the bye week, we played the Jaguars and almost pulled that game out, 30-23. Again, it was Davis Mills throwing an interception, but we gave up 4 touchdown passes to Trevor Lawrence. Marlon Mack had a rushing touchdown, and Damien Pierce had a rushing touchdown. Go into the bye week, come out, play the Raiders, and get smoked, 49-17. Titans smoked us 48-32. Eagles beat us 30-20. And then we got our mind right in a dogfight versus the Giants without Saquon. 17-10. This game was sloppy. It was sloppy for both sides. Mills threw 2 interceptions. Darnold threw 3 interceptions. But this is when Damien Pierce finally got going. We finally got his legs churning, and he was carrying the rock, and we figured out, wait a minute, we could run the ball. So he had 2 touchdowns, 106 yards, and you see Marlon Mack had 72 yards. That's when we kind of figured out, like, aha, what if we started to run the ball more and take the ball out of Davis Mills' hands? So it worked against the Giants, almost worked against the Eagles. Oh, well, I'm sorry. It worked against the Giants, almost worked against the Commanders. We had that game won, but Carson Wentz with a last minute throw set his team up with a field goal to win. And then we lost to the Dolphins. And then we come back and we beat the Browns when Deshaun Watson came back to Houston for the first time since being traded. This game was a really good game. If you haven't watched this game, go back and watch this game. It was a really good game across the board. Defense played very well, forcing 3 turnovers. We kept Watson bottled up for most of the day. We shut down Nick Chubb in the run game. And as you can see, Damien Pierce went crazy. 24 carries for 147 yards and 2 touchdowns. I think Davis only threw the ball like a handful of times. 17 for 31, 2 touchdowns, 2 interceptions. Just a great all-around showing by the Texans. And it was actually a huge win for the franchise. But then it was like playoff team after playoff team. We lost to the Cowboys, get absolutely smoked by the Chiefs, have a dogfight with the Titans. We beat the Jaguars, which was a really great game for us, man. That was by far the best game that this team has ever played, like the best game this team has played all season. And then we hold on to beat the Colts 30-22. So I think the last 2 games of the season really kind of set the tone for next year for us. We know that we can hang with some of these better teams in the AFC. We just have to be able to put a full game together and show what we can do. So let's start looking ahead. We're going to start looking at the draft and free agency. We finished with the second worst record in the NFL this year, which I expected. The Seahawks 1-16. We're 4-13. We have the second pick in the draft, and we also have the 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, 8th, 9th, 10th, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, 16th, 17th, 18th. So it's like somewhere between 16 and 18. This draft, I'm not a big fan of this draft. I don't think it's that strong of a draft. So here's a look at the favorite board. We've got a defensive end. This is Tavares Branch from Miami. He's 6'3", 256, a pass rush specialist. He's a top 5 projected player. And just looking at his game tape, man, yeah, he gets off the ball great. Dominant finesse move, but he can't shed blocks. He's not going to be very good against the run. No power move. Great tackler, though. And he's got really good speed to go with an elite pass rush specialist. Now, is he worth the second pick in the draft? I'm not sure about that. I'm really not. At the top of the board for a lot of teams that are looking for a quarterback is Gary Sheffield. Now, he had a big year at Oklahoma State, throwing for over 5,000 yards, 37 touchdowns. He had 8 interceptions. But again, is he going to be a franchise quarterback? Are we willing to trade up to possibly the number 1 pick to take him and lead this team? Again, I like his arm strength. I like his accuracy. But I don't know if it's worth giving up draft picks to go get him. Now, if he falls to us at 2, we're definitely going to take him. But at that number 1 spot, I really think the Seahawks are going to take him. He's a 6'3", 233-pound quarterback, 22 years of age. He's the best quarterback in the draft. Everybody else is probably going to go undrafted. Another player that we like is Adam Rowe, the big center from Tennessee, 6'3", 318 pounds. This guy's a mauler, man. He loves to block. Run block, pass block, does not matter. He just loves to run people over. With Justin Britt probably on his way out of Houston, Adam Rowe would be a solid pickup and a replacement for him. Again, I want to retool this whole offensive line and start at center, and we get somebody young in here who's willing to block and willing to protect the quarterback. That's a high priority. So we do have a wide receiver on the board. This is Dylan Mabry from Washington, 6', 198. Now, he's not going to wow you with his deep route running, but he's a solid medium and short route runner. Okay speed, good catch of traffic, solid pair of hands. I'm thinking he could be a good solid, slot player for us. Get him in some packages with Brandon Cooks. But I am looking for a bigger wide receiver, somebody that's like 6'2", 6'3", in that range, 6'5", maybe. But again, this draft is not deep at wide receiver. These wide receivers are pretty bad this year. If we want to go young at right tackle, Dave Flowers is our guy. He's 6'6", 315 from Wisconsin. And you already know how Wisconsin makes their offensive linemen. They got to be mean, and they got to be able to block. This kid has a pass block. He's an elite pass blocker. He's got solid run blocking traits. He is okay strength-wise. He's got great feet, very agile for his size. Only problem is, man, we got to make sure he's disciplined. He had a lot of flags thrown on him this year. I mentioned before we were looking at D tackle. This is David McGee from Florida, 6'3", 302. This is the kind of big body we need to clog up the middle of the field. Physical player who delivers bone-crushing hits. He loves to utilize a spin as a counter move, has a swim arm over move. Will utilize power and leverage to bull through pass protectors, which is a great look. He's got a high motor, often looks to rip the ball out of runners, shows good discipline and won't get flagged. Again, play rec is strong. He's got a great power move. My only concern is the block shedding. I want somebody who's going to be able to get off the blocks, clog up the middle, not afraid to hit a running back or lay a quarterback out. He's got great speed for his size. Definitely going to keep an eye on him. He's got a first to a second round projection. And the last player we're going to talk about today is Josh Wroten, a big center, 6'1", 312 pounds from Ohio State. Now, my thinking with Josh is if we don't have a spot for him at center, we could kick him over to guard. He's a really solid pass blocker, really good run blocker as well. I'm interested to see what his strength is going to be like at the combine. Also, he's got great speed for his size, so that's a plus. We'll be able to use him as a pulling guard on certain plays. We'll have to see what he looks like at the combine, but at 6'1", 312, he might be a little undersized to play guard. But considering he could be really good come round 3 or 4 if he's still available, he's definitely somebody we want to keep an eye on. So as you can see, man, we've got our board pretty much filled out with a lot of offensive linemen, a lot of corners and wide receivers. Secondary help is definitely going to be a concern. Linebackers, we're looking for a speedy linebacker that can zone coverage as well as play all 3 downs. We got a halfback up here in Ben Spears from Memphis. He's a receiving back, so he's a little bit faster. Another D tackle, some more corners. We're looking to fill – we've got a lot of picks this year. We're looking to move around a little bit in the draft possibly. But at that top of the draft, those first 2 picks, it's going to come down to that quarterback and that defensive lineman. If the quarterback falls to us, we might have to take him. So let's take a look at our free agents, man. I don't know if any of these guys will be back next year. Jeff Driscoll's probably gone. Justin McCray, Scott Quessenberry, Tate Davis, Andy Janovich. I wouldn't mind bringing him back, but we don't utilize our fullback too much in our new offense. Tremont Smith, I might bring him back to be our returner. Gardner Minshew's definitely gone this year. Kevin Pierre-Louis, thinking about bringing him back. Derek Rivers will probably be gone. Marlon Mack, we're straddling the fence with him. I'm interested, but at the same time, I do want to bring in another speedy back. Philip Dorsett is gone. Terrence Brooks will probably be let go. So will Chris Conley and Chester Rogers. Both had, solid years for us. Rex Burkhead will probably be on his way out. And I'm up in the air about Kendall Sheffield because we do need another corner. I do like the 3 corners that we have, but I think Sheffield could be that number 4 maybe. He's definitely a good special teams guy. So let's take a look around the NFL to see if any of those players that we talked about earlier in the season are going to be free agents upcoming. We're starting things off with Amani Oruwariye, and he's set up to be a free agent this year. Okay. Again, my thinking with him, he does have star development, great zone coverage. We might be able to move him to like the strong safety position or move him to free safety and then move Petrie over to strong safety. That could be a move. And it looks like Elgin Jenkins is set up to be a free agent as well. Unless the Packers come in with a big deal for him in the offseason, he has been waiting for a deal, and we've got the money for him. if he wants to come down to Houston, we've got the money for him. Let's see what his motivations are. Big market, which Green Bay is not, has a franchise quarterback, and no income tax. We got no income tax down in Texas, so the only thing we won't have is the franchise quarterback, but he can help Davis Mills or whoever's going to be the quarterback become that. Jabril Peppers has not signed his new deal yet. My thinking with Jabril, if he is available, we move him to strong safety and make him a box safety. He would take Terrence Brooks' spot. He's a great run support. He's got great zone coverage. Hit power is crazy. I think he would be a big signing and a big help, especially with that 90 speed. Teaming him up with Christian Harris in our nickel packages, that's going to be scary for teams. Same for David Onyemata. He has not signed his new deal yet, and this is a big fella, 6'4", 300 pounds. He's a hole plugger. 89 strength, 84 block shedding, 87 power move. This is kind of D tackle that can help make our linebackers stars. Nate Davis hasn't signed his deal yet either. He could be a strong right guard candidate for us. Looks like Eric McCoy at center hasn't signed his deal either. That's going to be interesting. We do have a couple of guys on our board in the draft that are going to be great prospects, I think, that could be a better fit than what McCoy is. But if we're able to get McCoy or J.C. Treader from the Niners, they could be a bridge player for whoever we decide to draft. Let's make sure, J.C. is going to be available too. These guys are a little bit older, so they could be, like I said, a bridge player for the future at center. Brian Balaga he hasn't signed his deal. That's interesting. Okay. Linval at Minnesota, another D tackle. He still hasn't signed his deal. They got a little money, though, so they might bring him back. At outside linebacker with the Jets, we've got Quincy Williams. Let's see if they brought him back. Nope. I like this kid a lot. He is a 70 overall, so it wouldn't be too much of an upgrade. I like his speed, though. He's got 87 speed with 87 hit power. The block shedding needs some work. He's got a great tackler. He could be a solid weak side linebacker for us in our base package. Justin Jackson, he's an elusive back, 77 overall, 6', 199 from Northwestern, 89 speed, 91 acceleration, 90 agility. Nice change of direction. Has some catching ability too. Okay. If we need another wide receiver through free agency, Juju Smith-Schuster will be available. The Chiefs haven't offered him yet. Same for Paris Campbell. That's a lot. Paris Campbell's got a lot of speed, so that would be a great pickup too. And then, like we just saw, Sterling Shepard for the Giants. So a lot of big-name free agents could be on the market this year. I'm interested to see who's going to be available, how much money we're going to have. Like I said before, I think the first thing I really want to do is trade Titus Howard. I think we have to get him off of our books and off of our team, period. There's a couple other guys that we're looking at to kind of see who we can move around. Just taking a look at the roster before we go. Brandon Cooks, his contract gets extended this year. Same with Lermy Tunsil. Steven Nelson could be somebody we could look to trade. Desmond King might be somebody too. His speed, these two speeds, 88 speed. I would love to get somebody a little bit faster. Derek Stingley's not going anywhere. Damien Pierce isn't going anywhere. Janovich might be gone. Jerry Hughes might be somebody we look to move. I can't remember how long his contract is. He is on a 2-year deal, so we could look to move him. He wants to be on a Super Bowl team, so we might look to move him this offseason. That'll free up some more cap space. And that's really it. Christian Kirksey might be somebody we look to move as well. Just because of how Christian Harris played this past year. I think that'll free up about $7 million for us. Get another draft pick. That should be it because everybody else is pretty young. I'm excited for John Mechie to come back next year. He's going to be fully healthy, coming off that PCL tear. He's got great speed, the catching traffic. I want to see what kind of weapon he is because he could be that number 2 wide receiver for us. to go alongside Brandon Cooks. We'll have to wait and see. But I'm excited, man. This is the time of the year where we really get to put everything together. We saw what this team had in season 1, which wasn't a lot. We finished the season 4-13. Now we go into the offseason ready to make some moves and ready to make this team better. If you guys have any suggestions, feel free to drop them down below in the comment section. Love to hear from you guys. I'm excited for the offseason. I hope you guys are too. That video should be up in a few days. So make sure you guys have that notification bell turned on, all right? We'll talk in the next one. Have a great day, guys. 2 fingers in the air. Peace. Big shout out to all the members that support this channel. If you would like to become a member, check out the link down below.